Board, City of Erie, Pennsylvania, April 12th meeting to order. Shall we first rise by saluting the flag?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It is my understanding we only have one appeal today?
Correct.
All right. Will all persons who intend to testify please be sworn in by a stenographer? Please state your name also when we're done after this. So, your name and where you're from.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony about give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Name?
My name is Mike Sanford, 4721.
I'm coming to you.
My name is Nick Scott, Senior, 1552 South Shore Drive, Erie.
Okay. Yes, sir. Minutes?
Roll call
Yes.
and approval of minutes.
All right. Roll call.
Zoning Hearing Board meeting April 12th, 2022. Mr. Manella?
Present.
Mr. Johnson?
Present.
Ms. Gunchin?
Present.
Mr. Dawson?
Present.
We have 4 members present. We do have a quorum.
And then, Jake, just to note for the record, we did receive a letter of resignation from Selena King, and that will be on the agenda for adoption or acceptance of that resignation at the May meeting.
Thank you.
You know, Jake, you may want to explain, because we have 4 members, there could be a tie vote, and what the verdict is on that.
Okay. Sure. In the event, unlikely as it might be, that there would be a tie vote on this application, there would, at that point in time, the application would fail if there was a tie vote. So if it's 2-2, then the application for the variance fails.
Approval of the minutes.
So moved. Johnson?
I'll second that.
Properly moved in second. Any questions? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed have the same option. Ready to hear the appeal.
We have appeal number 12-268 by Scott's Bayfront Development, Inc. and Scott's, Ohio, Inc. concerning property located at 130 Front Street. Index numbers 14-1046-136. It's located in the waterfront commercial zoning district. The appellant is requesting a dimensional variance to construct a zip line tower. Per section 205 of the City of Erie zoning ordinance, the maximum height of a structure is 50 feet. In the waterfront commercial zoning districts, 130 feet is proposed.
Okay. Who do we have to represent Scott? State your name, address, and...
My name is Mike Sanford, 4721 Atlantic Avenue, and I'm the land surveyor and engineer that's helping Mr. Scott with his project. So I have just a brief presentation, if I may. As Jake indicated, the applicant is Scott's Bayfront Development in Scotts, Ohio, located on the north and south sides of East Front Street. I did amend the application, and I provided copies today to adjust the height that we're requesting. We had also adjusted the location, and so I just kind of wanted to go through that with you of the reason for the adjustment. So as Jake indicated, Mr. Scott's seeking a height variance to construct a 130-foot support pole and guy anchors and a zip line as part of his commercial recreation on his property. You folks, the zoning hearing board, is authorized to hear requests for variances where the zoning ordinance presents a hardship. So there are a few criteria, and I just wanted to go through those with you, if you don't mind. So the first criteria is that there is physical circumstances or conditions about the property that renders a variance needed. So a lot of these circumstances were discussed in depth in 2014 when Mr. Scott's architect was here presenting information about his project, the high groundwater table and all those things. I won't go through all those, but the circumstances were set forth in 2014. And the adjusted site plan that you have there, due to the electric substation that's there are easements outside that substation. So we had originally proposed the zip line to be on the easterly side of the substation, but due to the electric easements, we moved it to the western side of the substation. So that's the reason for the location change. As we moved it west into the westerly parking lot, the zip line got longer. So as it gets longer, we needed the extra elevation to raise the pole from 120 feet to 130 feet because it's now a longer ride. It lengthened about 60 feet in length by moving the location, so we raised it 10 feet in height. So I did provide that updated site plan and also the application materials to talk about the additional heights today. So it is a dimensional variance. The second criteria is that because of these circumstances, it's not possible to develop in conformity with the ordinance. And I had in my application put this paragraph, but I'll just go through it very quickly just for the record. So the Soaring Eagle is a thrill ride, and it's appropriate for all ages, from children to old, because it's a seated position. You're not in a harness, you're actually seated. This additional support pole height, about 50 feet, that's the requirement. You know, we need to get up to 130. The additional height is needed to get the riders up to actually have a nice view of the bay and the harbor as they begin. And then also part of a zip line is the speed at which you go down, so that the additional height is needed to gain speed. And the additional height, as I put in my application, that's part of the zip line's desirability. It's just, you know, you want to go fast. I won't go on it, but just you need to go fast. So the additional height is, we're actually at dimensional variance. 130 feet minus the 50 that's allowed requires an 80-foot dimensional variance. That's why we're here today. The next criteria is that this hardship is not created by the applicant. The footprint of this thing is basically a 20-inch diameter. So it's like a bigger utility pole. Bigger, you know, it's not an enormous structure. It's not a building. It's not going to block views. And so it's, like I said, similar to a utility pole. And residential uses in this zoning district are permitted to be 100. Commercial are only limited to 50. So that 50-foot restriction in the zoning code is really what the hardship is. And that's, Mr. Scott didn't create the ordinance, so that he didn't create the hardship. The next criteria is that the hardship, if authorized, won't change the character of the development down there. Well, commercial recreation is a permitted use. It's permitted by conditional use. And we are going through our process with the City of Erie. We've received a recommendation for approval by both Design Review and Planning Commission. We are set to go to council next week for the public hearing. So we did review it with the zoning office. But it is a permitted use by conditional use in the zoning district, and it won't change the essential character because commercial recreation is a use that they want to see down there. And the last is, if the variance is authorized, it represents the minimum to afford relief. And like I mentioned, that extra speed or extra height is needed for the descent speed, and that this really is the minimum variance that we could request. So we do look forward to your your approval. Mr. Scott is here. Should you have any questions I can't answer about our application?
Any questions?
I have a question. So this is going to go over East Front Street?
Yes, it will.
And I'm not familiar with a zip line because I've never done it before myself, but it's, I mean, they're strapped into it so they can't fall off of it, I assume? I mean...
Yep. If you look at in my submittal here, In my submittal, I have some photographs that I provided, and in the upper left corner is the actual seat that you sit in. So you are actually in a seated position as you ride the ride, and then there's a couple others just, as you're actually going on the ride. But to answer your question, yes, it is going to fly over East Front Street. I had talked to the engineering department, Jason, and we have to obtain an aerial easement. That's the word he used. And he attributed it similar to like Erie Insurance just constructed like a pedestrian walkway from one side of the street to the other, and it crosses a public street. So the city has to gain an easement to allow Erie Insurance, and this would be very similar to that. But yes, it would fly over Front Street, and in this case, I calculated the height today. It'll be 100 feet in the air as it crosses Front Street.
That was my next question. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Further questions?
Mike, I had one, just in terms of operation. I haven't seen the zip line up at the peak. So this isn't a situation where you're going to be bringing people up a tower to come down. They're going to start off on the ground, get hauled up, and then let to slide back down?
Yep, that's a great question. At the northern end is both the loading platform and the takeoff platform. So you go up, you walk up a set of stairs, just 15 or 20 stairs. You get loaded into it. You're actually pulled backwards up to the tall tower. So you're pulled in a rear-facing position up to the top of the tower, and then you stay there for a few moments, and then you're released and you come back down. So you load and unload from the north end.
Okay. And the guy lines for the tower, how high up are they secured?
The guy anchors?
Yeah.
I can take a look here. I know they extend 60 feet back from the pole. Let me just take a quick look.
I think maybe they're on.
I can show you here.
Or you got a. And it looks like they're secured up towards the top.
They're actually at the top.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, that's not here. Okay.
I had a question for you. Are there two towers or one tower?
There is, at the southern end, there's one pole, one support pole with
Which will be how tall?
130 feet.
Okay.
And then at the north end, at the takeoff tower, there will be a pole that's about 25 feet tall at the north end. And it should show on that little diagram I provided.
And that doesn't require?
Correct, that's less than the 50-foot requirement.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And how many of these can you have going at one time? Just one up and down? There's not multiple?
Yes, there's just one 2-seat chair, one chair.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else to testify in favor? Anyone else to testify in favor?
Nick Scott, I'm the president of Scott Enterprises, and we've been doing development here for years and years, 60, 70 years. But and we're in the hospitality business, as you might know, hotels and restaurants and Peak and Peak and Splash Lagoon. So we have a lot of experience in what works for people, what they enjoy, what kind of family things can take place. And our goal with Harbor Place was to create a destination that includes restaurants, hotels, and entertainment. And then last year we opened the beer garden in August, and it was an immediate hit. Everybody, they came by boat, they came by bicycle, they came by foot, they came by car. So it was an entertainment thing for people staying in the convention center hotels, in our hotel, and the cobblestone down the street. So this has now become a recreational tourist attraction, and it's on the waterfront, and people are really digging it, as you'd say. And so our goal this year was to add a few elements that would be more along the entertainment idea, and that's where we came up with a miniature golf course, which we've talked about and are in the process of getting our approvals for. And then this ride, which is a zip line, but it's not a zip line which is only for young people that are adventurous. This can take grandparents and grandchildren together, and the idea is they're safely put in this chair that whisks them up backwards. So all the time they're looking at the beautiful view of the harbor and the waterfront. And then they pause at the top for about 10 seconds and look around at the grand view, and then it's released and they accelerate as they come down, and they come in kind of hot, and then the air brakes stop them, and they all have a big smile and may yell out a little bit, whoa, you know, exciting yell. And so it's a thrill, but it's a safe family thrill. And so it's kind of unique. It's called the Soaring Eagle. It's in many resort towns around the country. And I think that our ability to bring this here is, we're investing hundreds of thousands of dollars to add to the allure of Harbor Place and Oliver's down there. So I'm very pleased that it's going to be a great attraction, a great addition to the area down there and the development. And hopefully it's a short season, but that's why we're anxious to get things underway and get it constructed so that after this big investment, people can start enjoying it earlier in the summer rather than at the end of the summer. And so that's our main purpose in our
Your
attraction.
months of operation, Mr. Scott, your months of operation will be dependent upon the weather.
Of course. The weather will dictate. I think sometimes people can play miniature golf if it's cloudy and windy. The Soaring Eagle will have some limitations. We won't be operating it in the rain, maybe light rain. We won't be operating it in heavy wind, but it's not that sensitive to the wind.
What's the top speed? What's the top speed of?
Top speed?
Yeah.
It's not that fast, but it seems like it is. Maybe it's 25 miles an hour, or 30, something like that. But being side by side and feeling the height, you know, and looking around and seeing the view and everything, it'll be quite a thrill. And the whole thing maybe lasts a couple of minutes, you know, by the time they get on and they get hooked up and so forth. And then I think the interesting thing is that going backwards towards the top is almost as thrilling as coming down the other way, because it's a kind of unique experience. You're not used to being drawn back like that and gaining height as you go back. And then at the very top, there's a pause, and it's a pause that you don't know exactly when you're going to start going down, but you get a chance to look around at the beautiful waterfront. And then when the release comes, you glide down and you pick up speed as you glide down, and then you have an abrupt but cushioned, safe. There's no jerking or anything like that. So it's pretty successful.
What's the investment? What's the cost to put one of those up today?
I'm sorry?
What's the investment in?
What's the investment in that?
Yeah.
Well, start to finish, it's about $350,000.
Okay. And employee-wise, do you have to hire new people to operate it?
Yeah, we have a training program, and it will, I mean, it's the record of this. It's not a new thing. It's been in this country for some time, and it's been very safe and very successful, and getting insurance for it is not onerous. It's proven its durability and its safety.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other questions? To our solicitor or to Jake. The points raised in this appeal, are they succinct with the laws that as we understand them?
They've laid out their position there, and it's, you know, up to the board to determine whether or not they meet the criteria, but Mike has accurately stated what the elements are that they have to satisfy in that regard.
Thank you. Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
we do have one participant online, and I wanted to point out, hopefully the participant can hear me. If you do wish to make a comment, either for or against, or just a comment in general regarding the project, please use the raise hand function on the Zoom, and we will let you into the room to speak.
Okay.
The participant hasn't used the raise hand function, so I would assume they do not want to make any comments.
Okay. We're going to require a 5-minute recess, and we'll be right back.
Announce our return from executive session, and
I'd like to announce our return from executive session, and we will continue to hold the hearing. Any other questions? Any other questions? Jake, would like to call for the vote?
We have a call for the vote. Ms. Gunshin, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Manella?
Yes.
Mr. Dawson?
Yes.
By a vote of 4 yeas, 0 nays, the appeal is approved.
Any other business to come before the body?
Just as a matter of note, in the good of the order, we did receive the decision from Judge Ridge on the Ferguson Appeal. That was a matter that was in front of you back in December of 2020, and it's worked its way through the court system. The appeal of your decision was denied, and the appeal of County Council's decision was denied. The date of the order from Judge Ridge was docketed on April 5th, which would mean that Ms. Ferguson has until May 5th to file an appeal. If she files an appeal for yours, then she would probably also file one against the city as well. Deadlines are slightly different. The city decision came out on the 7th. Yours came out on the 5th. But it took a while, but I think that Judge Ridge got it right. And that matter is, at least for now, done. And we'll keep our fingers crossed that there's no appeal in the next 30 days. Okay? That was all I had.
Mr. Chairman, do we need to, at this time, elect you as chairman?
No, we
officially?
do not,
Okay.
because there is, at this point in time, not a vacancy. We have received the letter of resignation from Ms. King. Because it wasn't on the agenda today, you can't vote on it.
Got it.
Until you vote on it, there is no vacancy. You vote on it at the beginning of the May meeting, and then you can appoint basically a new president and vice president of the board at that point in time.
Okay, Counselor,
Okay.
thank you.
Move to adjourn?
Yes, I just a question. The vice president didn't resign. I thought we just have to appoint a president.
You technically would move up to president,
Chairman.
the chair,
Chairman.
okay? And then somebody would follow into your vice chair position, or you could reorganize at that point in time and say you're going to appoint somebody else as president,
That's what
and you
I
would remain as vice.
That's
But
exactly-
we still have to make those moves,
Okay.
okay? So you have a motion to adjourn, second?
Where's the motion? Who?
Yep, Mr. Johnson?
I'll second.
There you go.